there, my name is Jessica Crow. I'm the founder of Apogee and the host of Change Leader Insights. And I am so excited because today we have here Rich Steele, who I've known for quite some time, and I'm just so happy that he's come on the show. He's the Enterprise AI Practice Lead at Execution Specialist Group. I've known him from back in the day. He's had a very impressive career, and what he's focused on now is even more exciting, I think, maybe the most exciting thing, considering that you're really diving into this world of AI. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into it and starting with the foundational fundamental concepts, because even though it's been around for quite some time, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot that we need to demystify as change leaders, as business leaders. So, Rich, before we get into the questioning, can you provide a little more context, a little more background on who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Well, absolutely. So, Jeff, first, thanks for having me. Like you said, we've known each other for quite a while, so I'm really excited to kind of spend this time with you and talk about this topic that is it's everywhere. You can't turn around without bumping into a commercial or a product or something that's AI related. And really excited to kind of jump into this with this conversation and for your audience. Hi, my name's Rich. I spent 14 years at JPMorgan as a solution architect, development manager, project manager, and then eventually leading and building PMO organizations, which is most of what I've done for really the last probably 15 years or so. Moved from Ohio to Denver to run the PMO at DaVita Healthcare Partners, where you and I first met. Mm-hmm. Then I've spent the last 8.5 years at Charles Schwab, leading their PMO, managing an overall technology portfolio of around $450 million across all business units, driving enterprise transformational change, scaled agile practices, funding model changes, everything around the circle of life that the PMO touches. And now I'm really excited about the role that I have here at Execution Specialist Group, because AI is everywhere. I'm excited to kind of be leading and building our AI practice and partnering with our clients to navigate all of the uncertainty about the direction that companies should be going, navigating disruptions, taking advantage of new opportunities, figuring out where they're trying to go and how to get there, enabling, what the future might look like with human and AI collaboration.
Yeah. And you're also involved with several universities and helping, steer and guide their conversations too. So you're really living and breathing the AI space, and have a lot of knowledge in this area. I'm sure you're learning things every day as well, as fast as the technology is moving. But let's start with the basics. So let's assume people that are listening, watching the show, describe AI. Like, what is it? What are its origins? Tell us a little bit about it.
For sure. So let's just start. Let me start with some stats, right?
Yeah.
So the global Gen AI market in 2024 was around $15-16 billion.
Uh-huh.
By 2030, that's expected to be north of $100 billion.
Wow.
Agents are the new thing. We'll talk about that in a second. Right?
Okay.
The agent market in 2024 was around $5 billion, expected to be more than $50 billion by 2030.
Yeah.
PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, estimates that AI's total contribution into the global economy, so all the stuff related to AI, may be north of like $15 trillion.
Yeah.
By 2030.
Wow.
Right. So it's massive. So let's talk about, like, what are we talking about? What is AI? You think about AI as really systems that perform tasks typically requiring human intelligence, learning, reasoning, problem solving, that kind of thing. Generative AI, or Gen AI, is kind of a subset of AI that generates new content, new output, text, images, code, in response to human input. You ask a question, you get a response back.
Like ChatGPT or Gemini, something like that. Yeah.
Gemini, Perplexity, those are all Gen AI tools, 100%.
Yep. Okay.
Using vast amounts of data in these large language models, LLMs, right? Massive data models trained on huge amounts of data that allows those generative AI tools to understand human language, respond back in human language,
Mm-hmm.
chat bots, like you said, chat GPT, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Agents are the new thing. Right?
Okay.
Agents are AI systems that autonomously perform tasks. Right? If Gen AI provides new content, agents do things. They
Got
make
it. Okay.
decisions. They interact with other systems to achieve specific goals autonomously without requiring human intervention.
Got it. Or input. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The other term that we often talk about is AGI, artificial general intelligence, which
Okay.
is kind of the end state theoretical form of AI with human-like cognitive abilities, capable of autonomous reasoning, learning. So you'll often hear people talk about we're close to AGI. We'll achieve AGI in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can name that tune in 2 notes, right? Whatever
Right.
there's a target towards that kind of higher level of intelligence that
Uh-huh.
we're striving for. And so, a lot of these pieces are all kind of contributing to that goal of AGI.
Got it. Okay. So that's helpful. So there's different types of AI. AI, though, its history, it really is rooted in machine learning, right? Like that's been around for quite some time, but then it's just accelerated over the last few years. Is that right?
100%. So there's often this sense that AI is new. Like all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's everywhere. It's not really all of a sudden. I mean, the history of how we got it, there's more than 80 years of history. So if you
Yeah.
tracing this back to the 1940s, 1950s, right? Artificial neurons, computational frameworks, information theory, machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
pattern recognition, 1960s with robotics. The first chatbot was actually
Mm.
developed at MIT in 1966, the year
Oh,
I was
wow.
born.
Okay.
Expert systems, statistics, probability learning, sequential models in the 90s. 1997, when IBM's
Watson.
Blue beat Kasparov in chess,
Oh,
right?
that's right. Okay. Yeah. I
So
remember that
like that
story.
was a huge deal at the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, now in the 1920s, the biggest change is probably what's called transformer models, where
Okay.
a lot of the work in AI, you're decomposing language, you're taking your text inputs, processing it to provide a response back, was limited in kind of sequential processing that created bottlenecks. So performance was hard, scalability was hard. But there was a 2017 paper called that by Ashish Vaswani that
Mm-hmm.
introduced brand new innovations in terms of the architecture of how the algorithms and models worked that allowed for parallel processing, taking that chunk of text and instead of doing this and then doing that and then doing the next thing through these different layers within the model to provide responses back, allowed you to take that big chunk of text and operate on it simultaneously. And that
Mm.
created the kind of throughput that we see today. Performance increases, scalability. And so you've seen the exponential growth now with ChatGPT and AI because of those fundamental changes to the logic of how we're processing information. And now we're able to manage massive amounts of data. On top of that, just the technology growth, processor speeds, memory,
Mm.
data architectures, cloud computing, all of those things
Yeah.
to get a sense of how much change has been happening. You're probably familiar with Moore's law, right? That
Yeah.
talks about change over time, right? Technology advancements doubling
Mm-hmm.
every 18 months, 24 months, about doubling every 2 years, let's say, right? The changes taking place in the AI space absolutely blow that away.
I'm sure.
To give you a sense, right? So Moore's law would estimate that AI model sizes have grown. There's a 5-year period where the traditional technology change Moore's law would predict would have seen like a 32x increase over a 5 or 6 year period. Model sizes have grown 1,000 times in that same period.
Mm. Wow.
The compute used to train and run AI models has grown exponentially. Again, Moore's law would predict about that 32 times change. The compute being applied, meaning processing power, memory, storage, right, has grown 300,000 times over a 5 or 6 year period. Bigger, faster change than anything we've ever seen before, almost with anything, anywhere.
Right.
It's nuts.
Well, okay. So, and with all of that being said, so clearly the advancements have been gigantic. And I can't imagine that. I mean, organizations are still figuring out how to, like, what to do, right? There's obviously some companies that are doing things well, but so many leaders and organizations are like, how do I actually leverage AI in a way that is valuable to the organization? For one. And then I don't think we've fully thought through, because we haven't really had the ability to, the unintended consequences, the impacts on people's roles, really, right? So tell us a little bit about, we'll start with the first piece. I mean, what's your guidance to clients that you work with? Like, what questions should they be asking?
So first of all, you're right. There are early adopters that are, the vanguard tip of the spear, blazing new trails and jumping in kind of, head first. But a lot of companies, a lot of leaders, because the change is happening so fast, it's so disconcerting, and it's hard to kind of have a sense of what to go as you're trying to figure out where all of this stuff is going. And almost like with any big, impactful disruption, the first question to ask is fundamentally, where are you trying to go? Right? Mm-hmm. What problems do you have, and what do you want to be when you grow up? And so if you start with that, there's this tendency sometimes to want to jump on the bandwagon, and you feel like your competition is doing something. There's that fear of missing out, and so we need to be doing something. So we're going to do this, or you get attracted to a new platform, whatever the new shiny object happens to be that you get very enamored of. But it's because things are changing so fast, and the implications for that AI can have on your entire company, culture, business processes can be just so huge. It's important to kind of be intentional about where you're trying to go. So it always comes back to, what's your business strategy? What are you doing with your products? Where are you going with the market? What are your customers expecting? And what kind of problems are you trying to solve? I like to think about this oftentimes like using a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. What do you do well that you can shore up? What are you weak in that you want to get better at? What are the external threats that you're worried about? And what are the new opportunities that you want to take advantage of? And how does AI help you in any of those quadrants? And probably the most important thing is, don't try to boil the ocean. You don't need to do everything at once. The stats are that 80% of AI projects, these days struggle to get to production, struggle to be successful. Whether it's, difficulty realizing ROI, implementation challenges, your data's not ready, the human behavior and adoption, the organizational change management side of it, a whole bunch of things. But part of it is biting off more than you can chew. So the advice tends to be, again, where you're trying to go, what problems you're trying to solve, and let's start small. Crawl, walk, run. Build your stepping stones towards that target, and let's do one thing and have that be successful. Start somewhere where you've got an obvious pain point or an obvious opportunity, but something that's fairly simple that you can measure the effect, and build some momentum, build some confidence while you are working within your organization to improve AI literacy, get the people within your organization more comfortable with the strategic direction where you're trying to go and how AI fits in that strategy.
Yeah, because you could have a very lofty vision of where AI could take the organization, but if you don't lay the groundwork and establish that foundation, to your point, the the data, right? The data being clean data, no silos, that's a huge activity in itself. And then the mindset and culture shift, because all technology change ends up being culture change. So how do you prepare people and eliminate some of those fears that are related to change anyways? But now you've got people wondering, well, is this going to eliminate my job? Because some of these
100%.
tasks that I was paid to do, now AI is doing them much quicker and correctly. You actually wrote an article recently about the impact of AI and how to think about it from the perspective of a project manager. But I read it, and I think the insights and lessons learned were applicable to anyone who is wondering, how am I going to be impacted by AI? Can you tell us a little bit more about what you foresee based on what you know? How can we work alongside? Like, how should we be preparing ourselves mentally and even from a skill set perspective, if necessary, for this future state where we're partnering with AI to do our jobs? So what's your recommendations there?
Yeah, the concerns are real and legitimate. I mean, the reality is there are some jobs that are going to be directly impacted by AI, by this technology automating certain tasks.
Yeah.
A company that is forward thinking about how that change might impact your staff, how these changes can impact we talk about employee engagement, about company culture. All of those things can get strained when people see jobs being eliminated, or you've got worry and concern that a company saying, we're embracing AI, we're bringing these tools in, what is that going to do to me and my job? The most important thing that I think anyone can do is try to be as familiar with just basic AI literacy. Right?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it good at? What is it not good at? Using the tools on a regular daily basis. I mean, I live my life, my work life, my personal life, using these tools frequently. And the more you can interact with the tools and get more comfortable with, again, what they're good at and what they're not so good at, gives you a better sense of, one, how to be using the tools yourself and what that's likely to look like for your company. As a change leader or a business leader within any company, encouraging that kind of AI literacy, creating programs to share information and increase the literacy across everyone at the company. We often talk about upskilling and reskilling workers. Where are there skills that you can learn that will help you use AI better? As important, what are the skills that you can have to do the human-centered work that AI isn't as good at? So that as AI becomes more prevalent in your role, you can shift and let the AI do the things that the AI is good at. You shift your focus more towards, whether it's oversight, whether it's the creative side of things, human relationships, emotional intelligence, seeing the connective tissue between processes so that you can kind of see the adjustments that need to happen to workflows and make things more efficient as the AI finds its niche. You are now shaping how the broader processes all work together, playing more of a leadership role, and just the human side of things. There's always going to be, we talk about the human in the loop component of automation. You're always going to have pieces of the end-to-end process that the human side is going to simply do better. And so how do you kind of mesh the AI automation pieces and the human pieces together to create that seamless end-to-end process? It's interesting because the assumption is that when people start working with AI, that your productivity is going to improve because the AI makes things better, right? So I can do things faster, more efficiently. What's been really interesting is that where the AI has been introduced, you've got this human AI collaboration. A lot of the times, initially, productivity is worse.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that because you're learning how to work together. Yeah.
100%. There's a learning curve. Like, you've got a new person on the team, and so you're spending time teaching them. You've got to adjust to their personality, right? Whatever. The same kind of thing happens with AI. And what's interesting is you take certain tasks that a human does okay, and the AI does better. And the thought is that the combination of the two together should be better.
Mm-hmm.
What often happens is where you've got humans working with the AI, if it's something that the human isn't as good at, we as human beings have a hard time sometimes trusting the AI.
Yeah.
And so we second guess it, right?
Yep.
So the productivity gains that you expect to see sometimes don't show up.
Yeah.
And there are some things that the AI by itself does better than human AI together. So medical diagnosis was one that recent studies have shown human by themselves does so well. Human in AI does a little bit better, but AI all by itself does best, in part because the human doctors in the mix sometimes question the AI diagnosis, and where the AI was right, the human's like, are you sure? Right?
Yeah.
So there's that comfort level and learning curve, right? To figure out where are the things that humans do best, what are the things that AI does best, and how do we get comfortable enough to work together to trust the technology to do its thing well enough while still providing the decision-making, critical thinking, and oversight to make sure that something doesn't go off the rails or you're not making mistakes.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting and makes a lot of sense too, how you've framed it up. So thank you for kind of illuminating that. It got me thinking though, too, coming where there's AI is doing things better. I mean, that is, so this isn't my own story. I've been using AI to try to synthesize information, stakeholder analysis, for example, would have taken me a lot longer to do if I had to call all the interviews and find the themes. And I leveraged ChatGPT, just put the document in and it pulled everything out. But I still went back and was like, okay, how accurate is this based on everything? And it took me a lot longer to do that. And then I found myself like, do I trust this or not? I'm like, hold on a second. These are my direct notes, so I understand that pain point, and how it's going to take some time to find that sweet spot of trust.
But one of the things you said is really important, right? You want to leverage the AI to enjoy that efficiency step, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, right, you also want to double check and make I'm not just going to blindly take what I get from ChatGPT and assume it's right and simply go publish it, right? Without looking at it with a critical eye, just to double check the accuracy, the relevance of the information that's there. Like, I use ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, all the time, developing content, getting ideas, organizing work. But there's always kind of this sense of, I like that. No, not that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that, right. And so as long as you're providing that a bit of a critical eye to oversee what you got, but you can take something that was a 3-hour activity and get it done in an hour. Which saves you an absolute ton of time to go do other things that are more important.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, there were things, the nuances were missed, right? There are some of the interviews were done over video. So I was also bringing in some of my subjective opinions around knowing the people that were in the space. And so that got me thinking about the doctors and how, even if you have the data shows, there are going to be scenarios where data says something, but then there could be other factors at play that you wouldn't necessarily get from just looking at certain numbers. So super interesting, but AI and how we're leveraging it today. I also wonder, you mentioned the SWOT, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yep.
Is there any piece of, especially when it comes to opportunities, like we don't know what we don't know. And when you think about where to take this from a potential perspective, and this is what makes investing in AI kind of scary. Like, oh, I think this is how it'll help me today. But really, it's like Henry Ford, right? If they ask for a faster version, they say a faster horse versus a car. So I wonder if we even have the capacity to think about the true opportunity in our organizations for what AI can do for us. I don't even know if most leaders have that mindset. What's your take on this?
No, I guarantee, we're going to start down a path that we're already today, right? Across any industry, right? We're actively thinking about what are the use cases where AI can be applied.
Yeah.
It can help here. It can help there. We're going to have these aha moments, both as we experiment with using the technology in ways that we may not even be able to imagine yet.
Right.
That's going to create new opportunities. Plus, because the technology is evolving and changing so quickly, there's going to be things that the technology can do in 2 years that we can't even envision yet.
Right. Yeah.
So to a degree, right? And as a change leader, right, we're trying to create this mindset to be open to possibilities, to be comfortable with change.
Yes.
Because one of the things that we know is going to be a reality is that this is not going to slow down much. It's going to be a continuing part of how we work and how we live, and getting comfortable being uncomfortable is kind of part of the challenge that we have in front of us right now. And that's where, literacy and education, but a lot of it is building that mindset that it's okay not to have all the answers, and it's okay to be figuring this out as we go. Like when we talk about agile practices, being iterative, fail fast, try something. I worked for a CIO a long time ago who used to say, one of his phrases was "action is a deliverable," right? I want you to do something.
That. Yeah.
Even if what you do doesn't work out, you learn things from that.
Yeah.
Right? I'd much rather you try something, fail, learn, and adjust. It's continuous improvement, feedback loops. All of these concepts are fully applicable to everything that we're talking about here. But you've got to get comfortable enough and have and work in an environment where trying and failing, but learning and improving is okay. Right?
Yes.
Don't let great get in the way of good, and all of those metaphors that we use are fully applicable here for how this is likely to play out. We're going to be discovering new things and going down paths that we didn't think about, and so how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love that your starting point, and you've really done a great job of creating some clarity and demystifying how to think about AI, period, because it is a big subject. And just by getting smart, the literacy, the education, starting small, failing forward, all of that feels accessible. And it even describes the environment that change leaders are trying to create today and in the past, right? We want organizations to be change ready, and that hasn't always been the easiest thing. A lot of organizations continue to resist. And the rapid continual change is hard. It can create change fatigue. So what you're talking about, that culture and mindset shift, that really is, along with the AI literacy, that is your starting point. Like, how do you get leaders and teams really comfortable with the idea of iterating and continuous improvement in the way that you're describing? So this has been really helpful. I know you've got even more information up here, and I'd love to speak with you again because you're a wealth of knowledge and on the forefront of all of this. But for now, we're going to cap it because this was a lot to absorb. And I want to make sure, we have time to process and then have a future conversation. Rich, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I learned a ton. I feel actually a little bit more confident in my own knowledge and capability. And I want to go learn and play around with the tools that I have access to even more now. So thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you, learn from you? Where's the best place to find you? Get in touch with Execution Specialist Group if they want to, if they're looking for some support in this area in particular.
100%. So easiest way is just to find me on LinkedIn, Richard Steele, Execution Specialist Group. Connect with me online. Happy to respond back, answer questions. I would love to come back and talk.
Yes.
There are so many topics we could take deep dives into on a lot of this stuff. This was thanks again for having me. Anytime you got something you want to talk about, give me a shout. I'm all yours.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Have a great rest of your day.